get started with basic animation inside of Photoshop. So what I'm going to do is go to File, New, and just create a simple, it's going to be a 1024 by 1024 image. Hit OK, and now I'll have a white canvas, and all I want to do is make a bouncing ball. So in order to animate, we're going to need what's called timeline. So if you go to Window, timeline is under the tab here, and it will bring up this extra little piece. Now what we want is we don't want to create a video timeline, which might be set by default. We want to make sure it's set to be a frame animation, because we're going to be doing this frame by frame versus trying to use curves. So I'm going to go ahead and create a frame animation, and that's going to start with these frames that we'll be able to play. So what I'm going to do is use the line tool, and I'm going to change that to pixels, create a new layer, and just give myself a nice ground plane. So I'm going to hold down Shift, release, and give myself a line. Actually, I'm going to change the color on that. So X, hold across, and now this will be our kind of ground line. Go back to the shape tool, change that to an ellipse. And what we'll do is I'm going to go ahead and reset that black to black and white, change this to shape. Fill can be white. Stroke, we'll change that from 3 pixels to something like 5. And I'm going to drag out a circle. And that will be what we'll be animating for the ball. There are a couple different ways you can do this. You can either, the basic way you can do this is you can take this object here on this layer, and if I create a new frame and move it, create a new frame and move it, create a new frame and move it, if we play this back, you'll see that it will play and create an animation. This works okay, but it's not my preferred way of working. What I like to do is create all my frames on layers and then go back and animate them. It's a little more tedious, but it allows you to see all your frames and to check all your frames as you're going along. For when you're creating animation, it might be a little more complicated, and also see how your timing and your spacing works. So what I'm going to do instead is go ahead and duplicate this ellipse layer, and I'm just going to actually call this ellipse 2. All right, and then I can move this, and so I can see the layer, the previous layer below it, while I'm working. And this way you can create a stack that you can work from. And I can take all these, and let's just adjust it so you have something like this. And now to animate this, all we have to do is turn all of our other layers off. You can actually thumb through them, make sure everything's set. Alright, so here's our first one, and it's going to be set up on this frame 1. Create a new frame, turn the next one on and the previous one off. And now if we play, you'll see the animation. So to actually make this ball bounce, what we're going to want to do is adjust our timing and spacing on these. So I'm going to actually go and select these frames and delete them. And start from scratch again. So let's go ahead, and we have these animation frames, and we need to adjust the spacing on these. So we use the arrow keys and reposition these so that they will create more of a proper ball bounce. So I want to make sure that at the top of the arc, the spacing's a lot closer so that we have slower movement and then more acceleration, so more space between them as the ball falls. All right, so new frame, one on, one off, new frame, one on, one off. Repeat process to the very end. Play it back. We have the ball drop. Now the cool thing is at this point, go ahead and stop this. Instead of trying to create new frames over here, because the back bounce, the rebound, will basically be in this exercise the same as the previous. What I can actually do is go to frame 5 here and duplicate the selected frame and drag it over. So that's 5 to 7. Duplicate 4 to 8. Duplicate 3 to 9. Take 2, duplicate it out to 10. All right, and now you can see that we've mirrored the animation. So if we hit play, we now have more of a bouncing ball loop. Once our animation's complete, in order to export this, we just want to save it out as an animated GIF. So go to File, Export, and there should be an option for Save for Web. That's probably Legacy. And it will bring up a screen that looks like this. Bring this in here. And what it's going to do is save it out, be able to save it out as an animated GIF. And you can play it, and we can say fit in view. So we have this right here, and all we want to do now is hit save. And title it whatever we want to, hit the save button, and then we'll have our own nice animated GIF. That's all you have to do. In order to test your GIF and make sure that it works, all you need to do is open it up inside of a web browser, whether it's IE, Safari, Firefox. If you open that GIF file in a web browser, you'll be able to play it back and see it work.